Now, this is the information that you've been looking for, and I'm glad that you've clicked on this video. Guess what? Perhaps you are out there, you are a beginner. You would love to get interested or started with investing. You do not have much money in your savings or in your account, but you would love to get started. Maybe you've watched some of my videos or most of my videos, but again, you find the videos are amazing, they're okay, but you do not know how to get started with investing. Or perhaps you've ever heard of an idea out there, but you do not know how to get started. On this specific video, I'm going to explain to you why money market fund and Saccos forms to be the basis or the simplest ways of how you can get started as an investor if you are a beginner. Because there are some of the advantages that you get once you get interested or once you get invested in these specific areas. All what you need to do is to watch this video to the end so that at least you understand. And guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to explain bit by bit all what you need, the requirement to get started in either money market fund or the Saccos. And for you, all what you need to do is just to make sure that if you don't want to miss any good or future videos on this channel, do this. It doesn't cost you anything. It is free of charge. Down below there on your right, there is a very small button written subscribe. It is in black. Hit that button and also like this video, and as well turn that notification bell and you get be notified whenever I upload a new good videos in the future. All right, now let's say you're a beginner, you do not have much money, but you won't get started with investment. That's why I said money market fund and Saccos, guess what, they form the simplest way on how you can invest. And this argument, I will back it with some of the points that I've listed here to explain why it is actually easier for you. The point number one is that you do not require much to start. Again, we're coming back to the amount of money that you need for you to get started with either of these areas. One thing that you're supposed to understand with money market fund is both of them actually you can be able to actually get registered from the comfort of your house. You don't really have to show up physically to that specific premise. All right, nowadays most of the things you can get enrolled online. Even if you're outside the country, you can as well do these kind of investments. All right, why did I say they don't require much to get started? By the way, if you were to look of all the companies that are regulated by the CMA as far as the money market fund is concerned, you realize that you do not require a lot of money to get started. Some of them actually goes way down for you to having 100 Kenyan shillings. You can get started with these money market fund. What do I mean? Like, let's say you get yourself like not an amazing salary at the end of the month, perhaps you get yourself like 15,000, because true, some people earn that amount of money. Others earn even less than 15,000. Others earn less than 10,000. All right, you can decide this. Let's say you are a young individual and you are ambitious, and one day you would love to get started somewhere. One day you would love to create wealth. And let me tell you one thing. The most amazing thing about the money market fund is that they have what we call the compounding effect as far as your money is concerned. You can set aside, let's say, 1,000 bob at the end of the month and be channeling that amount of money towards your investment in this money market fund or maybe your Saccos. All right, but let's first of all exhaust the money market fund before we go to the Saccos. And again, I said most of the money market fund, I don't think there is a money market fund that actually requires you to have more than 10,000. I think that should be the highest, around that area. Some requires 500, 100 Kenyan shilling, 2,000, 2,500, 5,000, around that area. And you can do that simple investment once, and then you can just shut up without any putting other in future investment or adding the value. But if you'd love to grow, of course, it means you doing the constant, or you do consistency, or in terms of you investing your money out there. You can set aside a certain percentage of your income and put it out there. And it's not a must that you are employed. All right, you can do this even if you're a Juakali person. Simply means, Juakali means like you're this individual who does or do the kibarua, or you can do this day-to-day hustling and you get your salary at the end of the day, or something maybe at the end of the week or something of sort. These are the areas that you can be able to get started. Or what you need to do or to have with the money market fund, of course, before I tell you that, I'm going to share with you the other things. Because anyway, for what you need to do, you need to get your ID, you need your passport photo, and again, you need your KRA PIN. And whenever I tell you the KRA PIN, of course, that means that you go to pay tax. All right? That's what it means. For you to get started with the Sacco as well, it's a simple process. All right? If you're this kind of an individual who would love to show up in the physically to the premise, of course, you have to different Saccos, they have different policies. There's some Saccos tells you that minimum monthly contribution is 1,000. Others tell you minimum contribution is according to how much you have. They tell you minimum monthly contribution is 2,500 and all those kind of things. So you have to understand the policies of your given Sacco. Again, those kind of money that I've actually said 2,500, it's not like a huge amount of money, and anyone can get enrolled as you move to the next level. All right. So that's why I said it doesn't require a lot of money for you to get started. It's as simple as that. Again, the documents that you need for you to open a Sacco, you need a KRA ID and those kind of things. Kind of simple things. All right. The other one is that you do not require or does not require a tedious process. Again, it's not a tedious process. Just like I said at the genesis of this specific video, I said you can actually go ahead and enroll to this, both of them or either of them using the online way. You can just do so because nowadays these processes are actually available online. You can show up to that website, the official website, and then get enrolled. But before you do anything, let me give you this hint because it's quite important. You have to make sure that the Sacco that you're getting enrolled is actually regulated by what we call the SASRA. SASRA is a body that is mandated to regulating Saccos and making sure that these Saccos actually meet that requirements of regulations by the body, so that they do not elope with people's money or something of sort. All right, but you understand the reason as to why they are regulated. The other point is that places you above the inflation. And by the way, this is the whole essence of you investing. Guess what? Right now, as we speak, and I stand corrected, they said that they revised the inflation of Kenya to around 7.9%. Well, that's quite okay compared to other countries, but still not okay, all right, because people are still complaining. Sometimes the inflation revolves around 4.2, 4.3, around there. They say as a healthy one is around 2.1, but why should you even have an inflation? Anyway, that's not the point. The point is this: inflation actually eats your money from your bank. If you store your money, whatever the place that you've stored your money, whether a bank, a Sacco, whichever the place, the fact remains that whenever the inflation is present, then it means your money is getting eaten by. Let me give you a very simple example of what I mean. Like, let's say we have an inflation of averagely 7.9 in an year, and then you take your 1,000 bob, put it in a bank, and then that means that if you were to wait for that 1,000 bob for a whole year, then you withdraw that amount of money next year, assuming that inflation has been held constant throughout the year, it means you've lost 7.9% of your 1,000 bob. To put that into perspective, it means you've lost close to 100 Kenyan shillings. Basically, if you were to withdraw that money, yes, you'll see you have a tangible 1,000 bob, but the capacity of that money to buy something that you could have bought before the inflation was actually there has actually been reduced. Maybe I can use that layman's interpretation so that you understand what I mean, that the inflation eats your money. That's the reality. So whenever you put your money in either the Saccos or the money market fund above, in most cases you are placed above the inflation, unless the money market fund that you've gotten enrolled to is actually giving you interest that is below the inflation. But again, it's a bit better compared that if you didn't invest. Like last December, or rather around November there, we had an inflation of around 9.6, actually the highest that we've ever recorded. So 9.6%, it means like if you had a money market fund that is paying you at around 8%, then it means you're below inflation, meaning still your money is getting eaten by, but a rate of 1.6 around there. So it's far much better compared to like if you never invested, then your money was eaten by at a rate of 9.6. I bet you understand what I mean, okay? But when it comes to Saccos, I don't think there is any Sacco that pays less than 10%. And if there is, then there are very few. Most of the Saccos, they pay you above 10%. Some of them even actually pays you 17%. So then that means that your money is actually way safer because it's way above the inflation. That is exactly what you're supposed to understand when you get started with this money market fund or the Saccos. How about you let me go to the fourth point to explain why as a beginner you should invest on these areas of the Saccos and the money market fund. Let's go to the point number 4. It instills the discipline and savings culture inside of you. And guess what? It not only helps you to save, but as well invest at the same time, all right? Let's say you get enrolled to Saccos, all right? And then they give you policies like, hey, you know what? You cannot withdraw your money a certain period of time. Then it means your money is not only safe, but it's also growing big, like you're expanding your money, if that name actually applies on money, all right? So the point is these actually ways of investments actually instills that way or that character of you savings, and not only savings, but as well investing. Yeah, I understand this is not the amazing way of investing your money. There are other better ways of investing your money, but perhaps you may not have that amount of money to get started. For example, treasury bills and treasury bonds requires a minimum of say 100K and 50K respectively. So it means you may not have that amount of money, but you can use these channels, then in future you can invest on them. So it gives you that specific culture of you to have the capacity to actually save your money for the purposes of investing in future. And that's what you're supposed to understand. And again, these methods of actually putting your money out there can help you purchase an asset. What do I mean by that point? Like, let's say you get started in the Sacco and you have a target of maybe owning a land in 3 or 4 or 5 years to come. Then you put your money out there in that given Sacco. You're not only doing your monthly contribution, but again, at the same time, you're earning interest, meaning that your money is accumulating. There is that compounding effect of your money. And guess what? There's somebody by the name Albert Einstein saying, like, compounding should be I think the 8 wonders of the world. Those who understand the benefit and those who don't pay for it. Yeah, you can check that. Yeah, that's what he said. So compounding effect when it comes to money, it's an amazing thing that you're supposed to always have it in place. All right. Now that graduates us to the last but not the least. That's process, or rather, exposes you to other better investment. I better have given that example on that by previous point, that if you get started with these circles and this money market fund, of course, let me tell you one secret. I do not know whether you'll agree with me on this, but it's the reality. Once you make a step of investing in a certain area, I do not know what happens. You either meet people in this specific premises or something, they share with you a better idea, or in the process of you savings, because you're actually saving somewhere or you're investing somewhere, you tend to develop that culture of actually trying to find out what could be the other underlying areas that I can be able to save or invest that are actually better than the ones that I'm holding. But if you've not taken that any step, you not develop that curiosity inside of you to find out the areas that you can be able to invest. Other point is this: once you invest in these areas, you realize now you have your 100k, 50k, 205 million, whatever the amount of money, you tend to think big. You tend to be like, okay, fine. How about if I was to diversify my portfolio? How about if I get started with treasury bills and bonds? How about I get started with the bond fund, balance fund, index fund, and all those areas? But you cannot be able to understand them if you don't get started with this. Sometimes you can show up to that money market fund institution that you've invested in and ask them, like, you guys, do you have like an alternatives where somebody can invest? You show up in that circle. You see, when you interact with those guys, you kind of get something, because at the end of the day, just like an iron sharpens another iron, so do we learn from each other. Learn to understand that, by the way. That's Proverbs 27:17. You can check it anyway. So the point is this: it's always good to make sure that at least get started somewhere so that you move to the next level. You know what, guys? That's the end of my videos. And guess what? I always post a video each and every day. So if you don't want to miss some video, make sure that you subscribe to this channel. And by the way, I've left my number on the description of this specific video. You can grab it, have a conversation with me. I offer services pertaining to businesses, investment, consultation, and that for just a cup of coffee. I also have booklets about investments for only 280 Kenyan shillings. Like the money market fund one is ready. Saccos is ready. Treasury bonds, bills, whatever, all those kind of things, they are ready. Grab that number, give me a text or call. If you get your copy, we get started. For now, it's a goodbye. See you in the next one.